Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. Welcome to Storytelling Hour here at 11:11 a.m. on Wednesday, miércoles, Mercury's Day, July 24th, 2024. The sun has recently entered Leo, has returned home, finding a house party going down for Mercury, still in Leo, about to depart, and Venus very much in the middle of the sign at this time. So a lot of Leo happening. Venus, who has recently returned to evening star visibility after a couple months behind the sun, therefore invisible to the earthly eyes, and Venus having on August 13th, 2023, begun this current cycle that she is dancing through in the sign of Leo. So I thought it was the right time for us to tune into Leo, to life, to light, to gold, and the energy of the sun. So today we will set the controls for the heart of the sun. Leo, life in the 159 trine. Why? All right. Well, it was cool to find that it was exactly 2 years ago today. Well, as far as the calendar goes, on July 24th, 2022, when I first showed many of the slides that you are about to see in the School of Earth Astrology's golden year, where every month or every month I was teaching on Sunday on the day of the sun about an archetype. And 2 years ago, as far as the calendar is concerned, today I presented these slides about the archetype of the sun and about Leo. So we're going to go there, which hopefully will keep me on track. I'm going to try to be a little quick because, speaking of Leo and life and light and the playful energy of kids and other things that we will explore today, our family is about to take our first road trip since baby Maya was born about 5 weeks ago. Well, I guess 5.5. We're heading down to Santa Cruz, go play at the beach boardwalk and the ocean and the redwoods and those kinds of things. So get through this together journey, and then I'm heading for a journey with the fam. So hopefully these slides will keep me on track, and while each little sentence that pops up or phrase could itself be a pathway into an eternal transmission, I'm going to do my best to play in a space that is not my specialty, that space called brevity. All right, time will tell. So here we are. Set the controls for the heart of the sun, the heart of the sun, the heart of the sun. So as I shared before, these were first presented in my School of Earth Astrology's golden year. By the way, the recordings of those golden year classes are still available. You can find them at the courses page at geminibrett.com. They are amazing. So let's talk about the three parts of the philosophy of the whole world. That phrase comes from the Emerald Tablets of Hermes. Hence, I'm called Hermes Trismegistus, having the three parts of the philosophy of the whole world. That which I have said of the operation of the sun is accomplished and ended. And then I see our great teacher Hermes disappearing in a puff of smoke. These three things, which I will call spirit and soul and matter, or circle, crescent, and cross, are here in our incarnational experience expressed as sun, moon, and earth. Hafiz tells us, that moon is most happy when it is full, and the sun always looks like a perfectly minted gold coin that was just polished and placed in flight by God's playful kiss. And so many varieties of fruit hang plump and round from the branches that seem like a sculptor's hands. I see the beautiful curve of a pregnant belly shaped by a soul within, and the earth itself, and the planets, and the spheres. I have gotten the hint. There's something about circles the beloved likes. Hafiz, within the circle of a perfect one, there is an infinite community of light. By the way, in the Golden Year transmissions, the 12 archetypes, 12 fundamentals, as I call them, astrological fundamental classes, deep dives into themes like triplicity and quadruplicity, which you may know as element and modalities, into, the houses and different frameworks of astrology like planetary phase and sect considerations, and on we go. But I also was revealing some of the keys that I have found in the exploration of compass and square and the exploration of time and space that many of us know as the practice or the sacred science of geometry. So I love so much in this poem that was offered, or I was brought to it, led to it by a student at one point after I was asking her, as I do with students, to draw 108 circles and to contemplate why the circle is spirit and what is the circle and what is spirit and such. And so I love this. Within the circle of a perfect one, there is an infinite community of light. Much is heard in this beautiful poem about soul and the mothering womb that is the moon. But we hear so much as well about God's playful kiss, the perfectly minted gold coin, the fullness of the moon when moon most looks like sun in our earthly skies. And this circle of a perfect one, this infinite community of light. And so I want to read another poem. It's one I've read recently and one I probably should read regularly now that there's a baby girl in my life. And this is from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." Al-Mustafa said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. This is not only about biological children that we create. Every thought, every think is a thing. What are you making today? The sun, this land of Leo, reminds us to live our life as art. That beautiful paintbrush at the end of the lion's tail can create at whim. What are you making today? What arrows are you sending out from this bow? This bow in the great archer's hand. Now, some of you might get turned off by all the he and his's in that image in the end, and therefore maybe also by this one that you are about to see as we explore, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. For you will see, I think, at the top of this next play, this word son. And we'll speak about the Son of God, the Christ. You know, a wonderful thing with baby Maya that I get to experience is this truth that she came in with Christ consciousness, because she's always doing this, right? So boring people call it the startle reflex. And I'm like, she's like, what is this place? What is this cross of matter I've been nailed to? Let's just bring the light. So look, the sons and the daughters, okay? And I've realized that since I come to understand that the Son of Man or the Son of God is actually the sun in our sky, that because I follow the light, I guess I'm a Christian. And so this idea from the one who called himself the Son, told us that we can be just like him or even greater. And this is for all the sons and the daughters of the world. Okay. This is about the circle of spirit and the circumpunct, that beautiful point within this infinite circle, which has no ending or no beginning, but every point in the circumference is the same distance from that place in its center from which it emerged, right? The center of the sphere. And again, I need to be careful not to just speak about each of these lines for 1,000 hours, because there's really enough time to explore this sacred space. But honor that the circle with no beginning and no end is this beautiful image and expression of spirit as it emerged from source. You are a ray. We are radii, the radius of that infinite sphere of light. The circumpunct is an ancient glyph to depict the sun. And we're speaking here about self, soul, about soul and spirit, about spirit in source, right? How do we get here? Why are we here? What is the point? I think I'm going to start a sacred geometry podcast, by the way, called What is the Point? That's like the new vision that's been coming in, because much of the information that I'm called towards is not stuff that I want my daughter to overhear as I'm rocking her in the early morning to let mama get a little bit of sleep. Finally, Maya and I have had a practice where I wake up around 4 in the morning and strap her into my little seahorse pouch and walk her up the hill under the starlight and let the Pleiades grace her brow and help her receive that beautiful reflection of Mother Moon and all of these things, right? But I might be inside, like bouncing her on the seahorse pouch and yoga ball or whatever it may be. And sometimes I put on a thing to listen to, and I don't want her to listen to so much of what I'm attracted to in my card-carrying Scorpio rabbit holes. And so it's been a lot of contemplating geometries. It's one of the sacred sciences, which for me is a place where I can see its polarity and I can see its opportunity to bring us into our shadow work for greatest expansion, evolution, and growth. But it's a place where I'm really able to keep that arrow of light in a more kind of pure way than I am in other spaces, including the sacred science of astrology. So anyway, what is the point? And the point is source from which we as spirit emerge. Spirit is the one only thing that ever was, is, and will be. We'll speak more about this a little bit at the end of this fiery slide. But when I use this word spirit, I mean that the one, the only thing, the indivisible, which in some miraculous way reflected upon itself and a soul was born, which must manifest into matter, this place with the appearance of time and space. Why? This is the only way the one only thing that ever was, is, and will be can grow, reflecting itself to in its entirety, but in a unique way. This for me is a soul which reflects the one light here to earth, into this place with time and space. And as you grow, you miracle, you reflection of spirit, you soul, then the whole thing grows too. This is the power you have. And this I find in that circumpunct, which brings us in. That dot in the center is actually a sphere with a dot and a sphere and a dot, and you can go out and you can go in eternally. So many astrologies today just teach the sun is your personality. I mean, where the sun was in Earth's zodiac at the time of your birth. And they'll say things like, you are a Taurus and you are a Sagittarius and you are a Scorpio, right? I have a hard time with that. And by the way, I believe that if you should be called anything, we should probably look to your horoscope, not to the sun, but rather to the earth. What was rising when you rose is rising within you. And so Gemini Brett, people get angry at me because I was born with the sun in Scorpio and I call myself Gemini. Well, I was born at night with a Gemini moon, and most importantly, a Gemini horoscope. In other words, I was born on a surface location of Earth in that moment at a time when Gemini was on the rise. So I don't call myself anything. Regardless, we are all of the signs. We are all of the seasons. But what is the sun in your chart? What is the sun? Is it some nuclear furnace of fission fusion, star in the skies. It's just some normal G5 on the HR diagram star, and all of the stars are suns, and you are just some insignificant speck of dust on a random planet around a random light. Boring. What is the sun? What is the sun in your chart? So some astrologies will say it represents your personality. Some say your very identity or your character or your persona. Many ways to pet the cosmic cat. What do you know the sun to be? I'd love to hear in the comments if you have something to share. The sun is the only one in the chart that can tell us the time. So this is a really important thing because I don't want to completely dim the light on the sun in the chart at all as we explore maybe different ways to play with the light. It is only the sun that in a natal chart, if we know something about the place where you were born, can tell us something about the season of the year. Now, some will say that Leo is the sun's home because the Leo time, the time that the sun is moving through Earth's sign that we call Leo, which is northwest of the center of the Earth where we all connect, that is the hottest month, or I should say month of the year. Well, tell that to somebody who's living in Melbourne, Australia right now, or in Buenos Aires, right? That's not at all true. This is the middle of their winter. And while I like to act locally and experience the seasons and the movement of my cat through the apple tree as I just witnessed locally, I also like to think globally. And if you follow my work, you will have heard me say 1,000 times at least that, like so many sacred systems of ancient wisdom traditions, the tropical signs are directionally aligned. In fact, I feel they are directionally defined. So I think we can learn something about Leo by exploring the essence of the Northwest, or simply just by watching cats play in the light. So is this idea of dispositorship, is this idea that the sun is the house, as Leo is the house of the sun, is that completely a seasonal thing of Northern Hemisphere experience? I don't believe so, for I find that these astrological rules that many of us play with work quite globally. And again, the global reasoning for the tropical signs is that the spine of Gaia, the sword of our stone, the world tree, which defines the cardinal directions, aligns to the cusps of the cardinal signs. You better put that away before I spend forever talking about Earth astrology. But if you know something about the place where a native was born, I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, with the sun at the first degree of Scorpio. I have some idea about the seasonal expression in that surface location at that time. I was also born with the sun in the 5th house, depending on house system, 6th whole sign. That tells me something about the season of the day to which I was born. Let's roll the dice and assume a place. One is going to tell us the sign of the sun, and the other is going to tell us the house in which the sign resided. The sun resided. So it says Taurus in the first. So what does that mean? Somebody with a Taurus sun born at sunrise. Well, let's say it was California where I live. And so it's the sunrise at this beautiful time of spring. Let's roll them one more time. And I get Scorpio and 2, right? So here we are. I'm going to go Northern Hemisphere again, in the middle of the autumn, with the sun in the gate of Hades, coming back from its rooted place in the middle of the night, on its way to rise. Light is already showing itself at the bottoms of the horizon. Maybe the eager bird starts to chirp. Let's roll them one more time. And I get to Gemini and number 5. 5, right? The sun. Well, let's play with that. Anyway, with Gemini sun in the 5th, what is the rising sign? And the answer is Aquarius, right? So Gemini Sun, at least from the northern hemisphere perspective, the last month of spring, the sun in the fifth. The sun travels through the fifth and the third and the fourth hours of night. This is the joy of Venus, the passion, the romance, the risks, the games of chance, and, well, traditionally, the sons and daughters, the children. Because the fifth is creation, and children are the creations of our passionate romantic risks. Anyway, as you can see, let's do that with the moon. Here we have a Aries moon in the fourth. Okay, what season of the year? What season of the day? Well, I have no idea. Let's say the moon is full. Okay, well, an Aries full moon means the sun is in Libra. An Aries full moon in the fourth means we have a Libra sun in the 10th. And so we're talking, at least northern hemisphere, of autumn time at midday, right? Like, if you're going to do this with the moon, you have to tell me the moon's phase, because I need to get to the light of the sun to be able to tell time by simply looking at a chart. You dig? So let's not dim the light of the sun. However, let's honor truthfully, like I bring baby Maya out to see the moon. When I bring her out to the sun, I wear a gigantic hat, so she's in the shade, right? I might show her a sunset when it's a little bit more safe and that light turns amber or red, maybe shines from behind a cloud or a tree. But other words, too much light for the baby. So now the sun is the heart of our solar system, and it's now the heart of astrology. I think astrology is catching up to the truth that the sun is not the only thing in the chart, and that sun sign astrology is not enough, and that perhaps it's even been used in some interesting ways to take us from the true thread. However, it is important to know that since the Copernican revolution, or let's say remembrance, that the sun is at the center of our soul or a system. Wait, is it soul or a system? Both. So the sun, which in medical astrology we associate with the spine and the heart, right? The centers, is, of course, also that star about which our planet Earth and the other planets of our system orbit. Yeah. That center of it all, that heart of the system. And I think this is, of course, a very beautiful, important reminder. But is the sun the heart of your chart? And what about the hara? That place at the solar plexus where we find the fuel of our inner mounted flame, right? Where the divine spark becomes that roaring bonfire. When spirit expresses itself through our own creative will, we align my will to the will of the divine and let creation create through me. Creation is not only your right as a human being, a spirit reflected through soul incarnated in this place with the appearance of time and space. I suggest, and Leo reminds us, and so do the kids, that it is our responsibility. Divine radiance. I was about to say so hard, but that would completely destroy our opportunity to play in this Leo sandbox. I'm playing so inquisitively and imaginatively in this realm of reminding that if I am driven by trying to bring another to the light, I'm completely participating with the programs of polarity and perpetrating. Having a hard time with the words because this is beyond words, right? I'm participating with division. So why try to bring the other to the light? Why not learn to see the light in them? See their divine radiance. See how their soul, whether they're red or blue or awake how their soul reflects the one light of spirit here on earth. Find their divine radiance at this hard time where you see criminals guised as the Statue of Liberty on your social media streams. Anyway, the great mystery. The great mystery. This is a very important reminder, friends. The chart is not only a map of your soul, it is a map of the sky. And if you really want to connect with who the planets are and how they work, go outside. I posted a picture of Venus the other day in one of those places online and said she has returned. And someone had the audacity, yes, I said that, to tell me that's not Venus, it's Mercury. Well, I appreciate that at least this astrologer knows that Mercury can be seen with the naked eye. Many seem not to. But it was like, dude, who are you to tell me what planet I'm taking a picture of? That's Venus, you idiot. And he's like, oh no, the degrees from the sun and both. It's like, have you gone fucking outside? Pardon my language, Maya. Are you just playing with some set of rules in your computer softwares inside some, sheltered room so you don't have the light or never see a star? Are you saying, well, because of the street lights outside, I can't see the stars anyway? Like, go outside. Connect with the light. At night, be with the stars, be with these planetus, the moving stars who dance through the constellations and signs, and you will find they are different things. Follow the sun by day, and you will have a much greater understanding of why the 12th is hidden things and why the 11th is hope in circles, dreams and teams, why the 10th speaks of our legend and the 9th of our journey. Follow the light, not on your softwares alone. You have to get outside and remember the most important planet that is so often ignored by astrologies. And friends, I am talking about planet Earth and therefore you. This isn't just a set of symbols. Astrology is the poetic breath of nature. And when we re-nature our astrology by reconnecting to the living sky, we will remember the roots of the rules and the proofs of the astrological equations we use and see why we shouldn't do our astrology mathematically. Because even when we learn these averages, and they're good to learn, and they might even work on a global perspective, think globally, but act locally, but getting outside. And so some astrologers just start with Pluto and the lunar nodes and beings that you'll never see in the sky. Although I could teach you how to see the nodes, or you can teach yourself. I gravitate more and more towards the traditional astrology that was penned by folks who actually had a living relationship with the living sky. And when we have a living relationship with the sun, we will understand why it is the great mystery, an image of the great unknown. We will quickly and clearly understand why all of the original systems of delineation based upon the travel of the lights through the stars were lunar, not solar, because you'll never see the stars that currently host the travel of the sun. Please. We can watch the moon who reflects that spiritual sunlight to our earthly eyes here in this place of matter, clearly and visibly dance through the stars. Right? The original zodiacs were lunar mansion traditions, not nakshatra traditions. And maybe even because there are generally kind of 12 months, 12 lunations a year. Really, there's 12.369, but who's counting? Maybe that's why we have 12 signs. Maybe it's because the sun's beams extend 15 degrees to the east and 15 degrees to the west. At least according to the old Hellenistic rules. You'll learn the rules and also be careful and allow yourself to break them. Or allow yourself to understand that nature doesn't always play by some rules. Or perhaps it does, but maybe they're in a space that dwells beyond the line of our vision. So look, if the sun has 15 degrees of beams on either side, that's 30 degrees, There'd be 12 of those in the great circle of life that we call zodiac, which is, of course, the path that Earth describes in our annual orbit about the light, and therefore, from our point of view, the path that the sun takes as it dances through our sky. The most important thing I'm here to remind you, and you'll have a better reminder if you just go outside and look at the sun. Don't do it for too long because you can literally go blind. Tell me the stars that the sun is aligned to right now. I'm told by one comment here that my connection has frozen. Can I just ask, is that true for everyone? Could anyone please just write a comment if I'm coming through, and I'll drink another cup of tea. Just checking with the other comments. I'm seeing Winter says we should play Astro Dice in some Constellations community meeting sometime. Absolutely. And Emmy, hello. Speaking of constellations, Shauna, thank you so much. It's working for you, Michelle. I hope it sorts out for you. All right, let's continue on. The sun is great mystery. It is the one of these traveling planet, thus means moving stars, who we can never tell which stars it is moving through. Like you might actually be convinced that now that the sun is in Leo, that it's actually aligned to the Lion constellation, and you'd be very wrong. And that's like, you know, the straw man argument that rationalists use in their attempt to prove astrology fake these days. Maybe we'll speak in just a bit, if I can move along, about the stars that do currently host the travel of the sun or other planets when they move through this sign of Earth's design called Leo in our day and age. It's hard to move on from this one line, though. I feel the most important thing to know is that the sun is great mystery. And you can go blind trying to know what it is. It is the one light. That's how I know sunlight. Look, the sun didn't just move into Leo, the earth just moved sun into Earth Leo. The zodiac emanates from something beneath our feet outwards towards the star, at least if you're inclined towards the tropical design, which I very much am, because it is the zodiac of Earth. The sun didn't just move into Leo, the earth moved sun into Leo. The sun doesn't change signs, the earth changes the sun's sign. The sun is one light. Now, of course, it shines in a different way in winter than it does in spring. But again, that movement of the seasons is not the sun, it's Earth moving the sun in relationship to your surface location, in relationship to its pole. Winter, I'm seeing this comment. This is fun. I am a no man, or rather a no man, or no woman. I'm a yes man and a yes woman. Right. So a no man, put a stick in the ground and do your shadow work to learn about the movement of the sun through the houses each day or through the signs each year. And stand straight and tall, right? Let the heart shine to the celestial realms through your head and through the terrestrial realms through your feet, right? The above and the below. That straight spine will remind you that you are that stick that casts a shadow for you to do the shadow work, and there is only shadow because of the light. So one light, there's an old riddle which I love so much, and I'm not saying it's true in 3D reality, but I am saying that 3D reality is not the only truth. That the stars aren't nuclear furnaces in the sky. They are simply holes in the one veil that shields us from the one light. Because if you saw the light, you would remember you are the light and the gig is up. So we need the veil to come here and incarnate into a place with the appearance of time and space, which allows us to grow. By the way, we also have to drink that special moon juice on the way in so we can forget what we truly are. So we can do this thing called a Brett or a Winter or a Melinda or a Neo the Wise or whatever it may be. And again, why? Because as you grow, the one thing grows, and it's the only way it can. It's a beautiful thing. And it's as simple as a flower. And well, that's a complicated thing. So we are shielded by the light, but we are also reminded of it when we look to Sirius or to Vega or to Arcturus or to Zenib or to Zubin el-Janubi, to, Acubans or any of these other stars, which are each unique holes in that veil. And each of them have a different way to remind us of what we truly are. The sun is the big one because it's the one that we are closest to. So all of these stars are actually just holes where one light shines through, and sunlight is one light. Of this, I am convinced. The one, the circle of spirit, the only thing that ever was, is, will be. Pure gravity versus tidal force is an interesting thing to observe. And, I taught this class after teaching a Cancer in the Moon class a month before in the Golden Year of Earth Astrology, where I was speaking about tidal force. And it's an amazing truth. One, the great miracle of moon and sun appearing to be the same size in earthly skies, because while sun is 400 times further away, it is also 400 times the size of the moon's diameter. But that moon has a greater tidal force on the earth, almost twice that of the sun. Why? Because tidal force is about the difference in gravity of near and far. And the moon is pulling on the moon side of the earth in a much greater way than it's pulling on the side of earth that is opposite the moon. This is true for the sun. It's true for Jupiter as well. But sun, because so much further away, right, has less of a tidal force than moon, but much more of a, quote unquote, pure gravitational pull, right? It has moon and us together dancing about that heart of the solar Earth system. The sun, we know, at least according to the code, is said to be at home in Leo. People say the sun rules Leo. I hate that word. Maybe with the royalty of the Leo design, it's a place where it should shine. But we just have such bad and shit examples of royalty and celebrity in our day and age. And I think we'll get back to that. So I don't like the this rules this and this rules that code. I prefer the old language, which is that the sun is the domicile lord of Leo. I also don't love this idea of lords and ladies so much. But all it's saying is that the sun is the landlord of the sign. So Mercury and Venus have been throwing a little Leo party in recent times, and the sun just had to go check in, make sure that they're at least doing their dishes or whatever it may be. Or perhaps just to come in, make sure that they're comfortable and they didn't run out of matches, because we got to keep that, or wood to keep that bonfire roaring on the beach outside, whatever, right? So because the sun is said to be at home in Leo, the sun is said to be in exile on the opposite side of the world, Aquarius, a place where the sun is a stranger in a strange land. I'm convinced now that the weirdness of Aquarius that is taught of Aquarity really is just the result of sun sign astrology. So Taurus, Mars, for example, the sign that Mars has just recently departed from, like that would be like an Aquarius version for Mars. What I mean to say is like a weird place for Mars on the opposite side of the world from his Scorpio home, or hers, you see? Anyway, let me move on beyond this. Just to say that the sun is also said, and this is a long-standing tradition, to be exalted or an honored guest at Mars's home, this place called Aries, and specifically in the 19th degree, which is 18 plus, by the way. And therefore, Libra is said to be a place of the sun's fall. Well, if you think about the Leo and Aries associations with the sun, you're really reminded of the beautiful light of the divine self. In that the sun here also, though it is an image of one light, reminds us to be unique. I think we'll spend some more time with that in the Leo slides, which follow. Before, let me just say, and this is very important, that the sun is said traditionally to rejoice in the ninth place, the topos, the places. Those are the old words for houses. It's weird, but in the Hellenistic time, they actually use that term house for the signs. So Leo is said to be the sun's house. And they use the word places or what we now call houses, right? So the sun moves through the places during the day and through the houses during the year, rather than as we say it today, the sun moving through the houses during the day and through the signs during the year, right? And I really appreciate that old kind of language, the topos, the topics. But regardless, the sun traditionally is said to rejoice in the ninth. And we're going to spend a little bit of time today on the 159 Grand Trine. And so we'll mix between images of traditional astrology and modern. But as I'm sure you know, the modern image is that the sun is the natural ruler of the fifth. We might even say that because the sun is said to be exalted in Aries, that the sun would therefore have some association with the first. That's a very modern astrology point of view, that Aries is the first sign, the first house, right? And therefore the first is like Aries, is like Mars, and that Leo is the fifth sign, and therefore Leo is like the fifth, is like the sun, and so the sun is the natural ruler of the fifth. And if you followed my work, you've heard me ask this many times: why in the heavens would the sun want nighttime? Sorry, why in the hell? Because when the sun moves through the fifth, it is the third and the fourth hours of night. If I had to put clock times to that, because we've all been like programmed in clock consciousness, it's like 8 to 10 p.m., but it's stupid to do so, right? Because your current 8 to 10 p.m., I'm speaking to you in Buenos Aires, is very different than 8 to 10 p.m. in Seattle, Washington right now. Get away from the clock. Be that no woman, that yes woman that Winter was describing before. Do the shadow work, which is a way to reconnect to the light. And the magical hours will help remind us that there's 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, and that in the spring and the summer, the hours of day are longer. They're not civil hours of 60 minutes. That's a thing. It's interesting, right? But I'm talking about a 12th of the daylight from sunrise to sunset is a day hour, and a 12th of the nighttime from sunset to sunrise is a night hour. In the spring and summer, the day hours are longer. In the autumn and winter, the night hours are longer, right? And when we play in that way, let's say the night hours this time in summer and some northern hemisphere locations are like 40 minutes each, right? Then 80 minutes after sunset, where we move through the first and the second hours of the night, the sun will get to the fifth. That would be reflected, by the way, in a Placidus house system. So the sun will move through the Placidus fifth in the third and fourth hours of night when it is dark. And it's a time for passion and romance and games of chance and taverns and all the other fifth house associations. In the tradition, the fifth is not related to the sun. It's nighttime when the sun moves through the fifth. The fifth in the tradition is the joy of Venus. And the ninth rejoices the ninth is the place where the sun rejoices. So if we use this modern term, which I don't like, planets are said to rule the signs. They rejoice in the houses. And the fifth is not the rulership of the sun, it's the joy of Venus. And the ninth is the joy of the sun, which makes so much sense because the sun reaches the ninth every day at the peak of his climb. And it is true sunburn hour where we have that beautiful light in the sky illuminating everything in a time that inspires our journeys, our travels. All right. But I think we will play with this idea of Aries as the first, which modern astrology teaches. And there is an astronomical reason for that, because the Pisces Aries cusp, not of some sidereal zodiac, not of some Ophiuchian construct, but of Earth zodiac, of the tropical zodiac. The Pisces Aries cusp is due east of the center of Earth, and therefore it works like a global ascendant, which is why the turning of the ages based upon the precession of the equinoxes is a thing. And why this idea that Aries is the first also has some resonance. The way that I teach it is, while the surface, of course, matters, that's particular, right? Like I was born on the surface of Earth when Gemini was rising. In another place, like here in California, the moment of my birth, Pisces was rising. I grew up in Las Vegas where Aries was rising, you see, in the moment of my birth. But from the center of the earth, there's no rising and setting, there's no seasons, there's no day and night, right? There's the directions as defined by Gaia's spine, the sword of our stone, the world tree, our rotational axis. This is the truth to the astrology of the tropical zodiac, the directional zodiac. And from that sense, Aries is like a global ascendant. And for that reason, Aries is like our global first sign. And Leo would be our fifth. So there is some astronomy. There is some, even I could say, three-dimensional reality to this idea that Aries is the first and Leo is the fifth. And so if we connect Sun with Aries through its exaltation and with Leo through its domicile association and with its traditional image of joining in the ninth, then I can get the 159 trine, which is something that we will play with on the other side. But first, a time for a breath, because this is all so much at once. I would love to know how this is going for you. So whether you're with me here in what I perceive to be real time and experiencing this live, or if you're watching at a time that I currently perceive to be in the future, why not leave a little comment and let me know how this aligns with your connection to the sun and to the light and to life. And while you're at it, don't be afraid to give the video a like. It really helps the mission, gives us fuel, helps us battle the algorithm of those who would shut the starry stories down. Thank you. I want to also tell you, and many of you know, because I see many of you here who are in the School of Astrology's Constellations community. For those of you who are not, I want to tell you about Constellations. For all of you, I want to tell you that this Friday, Alyssa Luna of In the Moon Den, amazing soul sister, will be offering a Leo Astro embodiment class practice. This will be her fifth. She's presented on Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. It looks like, well, yoga and pranayama and qigong and all sorts of wondrous thing in this Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific time in Constellations. Alyssa Luna will be bringing us into a Leo practice. I hope that you'll join us there. So if you're in Constellations, you know you can go to geminibrett.com/star meetings and get to all of the Zoom links for the many things, including a different lesson either on astro embodiment or astro herbalism, like the one that Amala taught last week, or astro tarot, which is being led by Phelan Shiva, or astrology classes like the Venus marathon I taught last month. You can find all of the links for that for those of you who are in Constellations at geminibrett.com/star meetings, and all of the recordings of the previous transmissions and classes at geminibrett.com/star people. If you're not currently in Constellations, those links will probably bring you to a place that's asked for a password that you don't yet have. So you want to go to geminibrett.com/constellations. Let me type that in the chat here, and then we'll get back into it. So we are still currently offering our maiden voyage price of only $16 a month or $160 a year for Constellations, where we have either astro herbalism, astro tarot, astro embodiment, or astrology, meaning astrology and astronomy classes every week. And we also have community discussions scheduled regularly so that you can connect with fellows of like mind and heart. Connect with Spirit Tribe. It's a great way to support my work. Just had a baby. Well, you know what? That's not how it works. Actually, Anna just had a baby. But I helped. and I will continue to help for the rest of my life. And, I'm freaking out a bit. So really could use help at this time. So if you're enjoying the work, maybe you want to just buy me a cup of tea. You can do that at geminibrett.com/donate. You could book a session, which really helps fuel the rocket ship, geminibrett.com/sessions. Or you can join Constellations and connect with fellows of like heart and mind by going to geminibrett.com/constellations, and for a ridiculously low price for an amazing amount of awesome love and information, you can join us on the journey. Nadine says, I love Constellations so much. Join, it's so much fun. Nadine, thank you. All right, let's continue along and a little bit more of this Earth astrology. Let's talk about Leo. These are many of the expressions of Leo that we know, right? Said to be the house of the sun. So you see that circumpunct, that point within the circle of spirit there beneath our Leo glyph. That interesting image. I'll reveal the mysteries of that another time. We see in the upper left the reminder that Leo is of the fire quadruplicity. Sorry, the fire triplicity, this set of 3 triplicity signs that these days we say belong to the fire element, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, yes. That Leo is said to be of the yang, or I prefer diurnal polarity, because this consists, of course, of those which go up and out the air in the fire signs. That Leo is said to be of the fixed modality, right? Or quadruplicity, the set of 4. That we have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. And my mantra for these so-called fixed signs, when the nature of the seasons is fully fixed in, is fix yourself to fix the world. Cardinal, others focus, mutable, spirit focus, fixed, self-growth. And these, of course, are all crucial. They all help us move around. Aries, the spark of the fire, the science of the fire, get a fire started. But with Leo, we fix that fire so it doesn't rage out of control, and we feed it beautifully, creatively, and even slowly, so we can keep the bonfire burning all night long, keep the party going, And Sagittarius, the spirit of the fire, that smoke that rises and takes its own unpredictable path to the heavens and carries the spark so that the trine can be complete. Okay, and then we know for the polarity of Leo, it's Leo on one side, Aquarius on the other. You can learn a lot about life by asking what is the one thing that Leo and Aquarius are the 2 sides of. But again, if I get into that world, it will be there forever. I want to speak about Leo constellationally. So back in the day, and let's talk about the Hellenistic times, about 2,000 years ago, the Lion, and not even all of the Lion, it's a pretty huge constellation, resided in tropical Leo, the place that is northwest of Earth center, the place where we all connect. Look, the North Pole of Earth leans towards 0 Cancer. That's why it's above the Tropic of Cancer. That's very real astronomy. It is Earth astronomy. It is Earth astrology. It is directional, like so many sacred systems of ancient wisdom traditions. The Libra equinox, I call the West equinox. That's why it looks like the setting sun. The Virgo Libra cusp is due west of the center of Earth, where we all connect, that place where we measure planets and the signs from, for they emanate from the heart of the Earth outward, at least tropically. Sidereal signs come to us from the heavens, and we want to work with both sets of those 12 gears to see how they relate, because that helps us understand where we are in the ages. Well, at this time in the age, tropical Leo is aligned to constellational Crab. Look, not entirely. It was in late 2011 or early 2012, depending on whose math you prefer, that the Lion's heart, Regulus, processed into tropical Virgo. I believe everyone here was born with Regulus in the last degree of tropical Leo, but it's since moved into Virgo. However, the neck of the lion, Algiba, still in the very last minutes of tropical Leo. That actually will change soon. But the sickle, the rest of the sickle, which is the head of the lion, lives in tropical Leo now. But much of tropical Leo, the early degrees of Leo, the first 15 degrees of Leo, even more, the first half of Leo, is now aligned to constellational crab. Now, interesting, there's a couple stars there. The crab, by the way, is incredibly dim, which is kind of hilarious on one level to think of it as the Leo realm in our day and age, because Leo is so light. But in another way, quite appropriate, because again, if Leo is the place or the house or the sign of the sun, then who cares how bright the stars are? Because you can't see them when the sun's at home anyway, you see? There's a couple stars in the crab called the asses, Silius borealis, the northern ass, and Silius australis, the southern ass, right? These are the donkey stars, and they live at the manger, which is an old ancient name for Praesepe, the beehive cluster. And yeah, the donkeys in the manger, and maybe you can feel a little bit of the Christ symbolism there. Get to know, not now because the sun is there and you'll go blind trying, but maybe if you close your eyes, you'll receive purer visions anyway. Get to know Praesepe, get to know the beehive cluster, get to know this fuzzy area of space. It's a very powerful, magical realm that now resides at about 9 degrees tropical Leo. So we are in a day and age where the sign of Leo aligns to the constellation of the crab and to the lion's head. And while I can't spend more time on that today, I hope that you will. Signs and constellations are different things. And when we learn to honor both, we really get to not know when we are in, well, spiritual space-time. Neo the Wise reminding us that as I'm recording this today on July 24th, 2024, Mercury is there at the lion's heart. I should also say that I've been slowly watching the lion diving apparently in the evening sky into the beams of the sun. Now, the truth is the other thing's going the other way is happening. The sun is moving towards the lion to take the lion into the beams. But we're just now, from where I live, approaching the heliacal setting of Regulus, of the lion's heart. It's brighter than many of the stars in the lion's head, which and it's further to the east, so I can't see the lion's head anymore. It just might be the 8/8 Lionsgate time in some latitudes, like where I reside, or maybe in Kemet, the land that we now call Egypt, or let's say in Giza, where the Great Pyramids live. It might just be in our day and age, and this would be very specific to our day and age and our time in the great year of precession, that like the 8/8 Lionsgate is around the time that the lion's heart, Regulus, disappears into the beams of the sun to be renewed. And it's also around that time in certain places on Earth, and only in certain places on Earth, where in our day and age, and only in our day and age, where we find the heliacal rising or the rebirth of Sirius, the Isis star in the east. And I will be speaking more about that sometime soon. I'm not sure if it's next week or the following, but I'll spend some time with this idea of 8/8 Lionsgate, and is it a thing? Jane, thank you for this. We hear Constellations' whole program is the best. Hopefully it's also a place where we can do some deprogramming together. Appreciate that you are there, Jane, and thank you so much for those words. So let's speak a bit about Leo keys. It is diurnal, right, of the daylight nature, the air and the fire signs, which up and out, the evolutionary process, versus the earth and the air signs, which down and in, the involutionary process. We want both of this, inhale and exhale, right? Embody in this descend, ascend, that whole beautiful image. And there's something about this fire, this heat, right? Giving light. Fix yourself to fix the world in the way of the fire, which is spirit and will. We'll be speaking more about this as we move along. It's the domicile of the sun. It reminds us to shine our light. It reminds us to be that great mystery, which reminds us to create. Fire, the one element we can share without giving ours away. You can illuminate your torch to such a beautiful and bright flame that others can ignite their own candles from it. But, well, let's get back to that as well. The exaltation of nobody, right? So this is a beautiful truth of the ancient systems of exaltations or honored guests. Not every sign is a place that honors another planet as a guest. Right, so Aries is the domicile of Mars. Mars is the landlord of the sun, and he loves it when the suns visit. They're both hot and dry, right? But for Leo, for Cancer, the place of the moon, the sign of the moon, the house of the moon, right? It's just about the moon. Venus, Taurus, she honors the moon. Pisces, Jupiter, he honors Venus. Right? Play that game a little bit. It's an intriguing thing to see. Venus, Libra, she honors the visitations of the exalted Saturn in that sign. Interesting. All right, and it's not only Leo and Cancer where we do not find, according to the ancient system, exalted planets, but it is those places, and I love that. It's like this is the sun's place and the sun's place alone. Maybe everyone's an honored guest. Maybe not at all, because when planets get close to the sun, they can't be seen. Of course, planets can move through Leo when the sun's in Aquarius and be most visible. Well, Mercury and Venus couldn't do that, but think about an Aquarius full moon reflecting Leo light fully to our eyes, or sorry, a Leo full moon reflecting Aquarius sunlight fully to our eyes, right? But there is something really interesting I would suggest about that. I've come to know this northwest direction that is eternally the space around Earth that is tropical Leo. I've come to know it as the passion. Leo is about radiance. It is about inspiration. It is about confidence in creation. It is about honor and sovereignty. Now, these are very difficult keys for us to connect to in the cult of our culture and through the programming of our system. Because, of course, we are told that confidence is cockiness. We are told that pride is arrogance. My friends, lions roll in pride. We are told that self-love is vanity. Can be. Well, no, let me say vanity is a false form of self-love, where actually there is no love of self. And there's certainly not love of soul, spirit, source. But take back pride. Put your hand on your heart and reflect upon who you were 10 years ago. Look at how much you've grown. Put your hand on your heart and do that. Ignite your inner mounted flame. Radiate. And then fire is not some element that you give away by igniting your torch so others can light their own candle from it. You just light your torch, and as others see you living at that true celebrity, that true example, they're reminded to ignite their own torch. We don't want to say, do it like me. We want to say, do you like I'm doing me. You are the only one that can you, friends, right? It is not only your right, it is your responsibility to do so. And we do this by living life as art. Neo the Wise with a very important astrological correction. I appreciate it, sir, that Jupiter is indeed exalted in the sign of Cancer. Moon likes company and someone to take care of. So thank you, Neo and Winter, for your confirmation there. I'm glad I kept the comments on the screen. Right. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting this morning. Well, it might be interesting, but it's wrong. The story of my life. Anyway, well, the old life. Much better now, though. Stoke the inner flame. Right. Yeah. So actually, it makes even more sense. Like when Moon and Jupiter are next to each other, you're like, what is that bright and amazing thing by the moon? And I get all these questions about that UFO. I'm like, that's Jupiter. When Sun is with Jupiter, where's Jupiter? Right. So thanks again, Neo, for that. And by the way, interestingly, Jupiter is said to exalt at 15 Cancer, which is the ascendant of the Thema Mundi, the chart of the world soul, which it's said was given to us by Hermes to teach this code. All right, but back into the fire as we go, back to this Leo place, the hot dancing flame of the radiating fire. And let's speak about honor and sovereignty. Let's speak about courage. Yeah, so I think many of you have heard me tripping on this recently, but I was contemplating the difference between bravery and courage some time ago. And it really kind of came through archetypally as the difference, or one of the many beautiful differences of Aries and Leo. That Aries is brave, which is a fearlessness, where Leo is courageous, which is acting brave in the face of fear. If I only had a heart. It's doing the right thing in that way, Now, this is a Northern Hemisphere thing to say, and I try not to be hemispheric, but then again, I think globally, act locally. I like to say that Capricorn is leaders when we need them. The longest night in the depth of the winter time. And we need those elders of the tribe to keep the traditions alive or we will die. Leo's leaders when we don't. Hot fun in summertime and plenty of fruit on the trees, but somebody just shines. Won't this be you? They teach that Leo needs the stage. Leo needs the spotlight. No, I say. The stage needs Leo because Leo is the spotlight. Radiate your light. We need this. Listening to Alan Watts some time ago, and he was talking about how the flower needs the sun and the sun needs the flower. Now, this is a really beautiful and interesting thing to know, or to at least contemplate. That the sun in our sky would not be the sun if you weren't alive. It wouldn't be this sun. The contaminated humanity is the virus destroying the earth consciousness that they're trying to program with me since I was a kid. Program with me. Interesting. Did I do that? Shit. Anyway, pardon me, Maya. Trying to clean up my language. There's got to be more playful ways to get a point across. Right. The idea is, well, humanity will die, but Earth will survive. She'll be better off without us. Not this Earth. And not this sun. Your spirit is the all. And that includes you at this time in this life. So as you do you, the sun can shine. This sun can shine. And I'm not saying that nearly as beautifully or poetically or deeply as the great Alan Watts did or could. But I encourage you to find your own way into that space through your own word. Cast your own spells, You need the sun. Well, the sun needs you too. It's all a relationship. And while Neil deGrasse Tyson might scoff at that, I scoff at him. More tea. Great. So, honor and sovereignty, right? You do you. This is one of the keys of Leo. I would even say maybe a key of the Leo-Aquarius axis, though Aquarius does have a community in its ideal. Love for self, not selfish. Love for community, But let your freak flag fly. It's not freaky. It's you. Be true to your school, right? And your only school is your experience, friends. Your life, your light, your art, your creations. Sovereignty. It's a very different kind of royalty than finding some king or queen to bow down to. to finding the Coke or the Pepsi team to cast your vote for to save us from this terrible nightmare. Save yourself and say, save our world. Fix yourself to fix the world. For you are that. Melinda reminds us that John Wheeler would not scuff at that. Or scruff. Let's bring it back to the lions, friends. Or wheels. Let's bring it back to that circle of spirit. Or John's. Well, I don't know what to do with that. Okay, anyway, confidence, creation, radiance, inspiration. Like this is when we are in our Leo play. Inspire me to be me by being you to your fullest you. El Rey, the king, La Reina, the queen, but not those like terrible examples that we've been given. Those ones who lust after power. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, fill in the blanks in your own beautiful way, True Leo space. We hear from Anne here. Honor sovereignty as we be fully accountable and shine our light. The sovereign. The star. We have to be careful there too, right? This idea that Leo is royalty and celebrity. Be careful not to fall prey to this idea that you are meant only to compare yourself to some scary skeleton on some magazine cover or silver screen. Not to say that, finding idols is all that bad. Let those who are illuminating their own radiant torch by choosing to be the fullest version of them remind you to be the fullest version of you. But when you are your own celebrity, if that's even possible without arrogance, but rather through that beautiful current of pride, then perhaps you fully brought yourself into your Leo radiance. The artist create. The lion's role in pride, and we might get into some of the lion dynamics that aren't so Leo too. But what about the cat? I learned so much by watching Chase. That's Chase the cat, who I'm fortunate enough to have aligned with in this lifetime. He is such a beautiful teacher around giving, receiving, playing, and working, and so much more. The paintbrush, again, for me, that's one of the great Leo archetypes, actually. And I love to see that lion's tail as this kind of paintbrush ball at the end of a magic wand. Six Flags here, where we go to roller coaster. That's a thing you can do, and I haven't done it yet. And I'm not so sure how I feel about it entirely. But where you can paint with dolphins. So really all you do is like choose the color of the paints that they're going to use. And they have this thing that they hold in their, what do you call it? Dolphin snout or beak or whatever, mouth. Anyway, and they like paint canvas. And I love that so much because I think that dolphins, who interestingly, like dolphin was sacred to Apollo, the sun. They're really cool Leo teachers as well. I had the great fortune to meet a man actually named after the light in Hawaii some time ago, who told me about a place I could go where if I brought no bubbles, meaning no scuba, and just snorkeled early in the morning at sunrise, that I would likely be able to play a game with dolphins. And they play this game where they take a haka leaf. It's a beautiful large leaf in Hawaii. And they'll like dive deep. They'll like carry it on like one of their side fins or wherever. They're so creative. And like take it down and drop it off. And then the next one will take it and dive deeper. And the next one deeper. He's like, if you get there at the right time, they'll let you go. And you'll only go first because you can't dive deep, you silly little human. Right? He didn't call me that. Anyway, so I was able to play. It was so sweet. A dolphin swam right next to me and just dropped the leaf off next to me. Unfortunately, I had been told not only where to be, but what that meant. And so I took the leaf and I went down. I don't know how far can I go, 8 feet or something, but hopefully further than that, especially then in my life. And I dropped the leaf off, and then I watched as a dolphin came and took it from there and took it deeper, and the next one took it deeper. And the story goes that whoever wins gets to have some really divine, sensual play with somebody who was watching the game. Unfortunately, that was not me. Well, maybe fortunately, because my child would be half dolphin. And yeah, I think that's enough in that particular ocean. But I do want to say, I think it's very cool that in the tradition that Dolphinus, the dolphin constellation, had some association, the dolphin being in spirit with Apollo, with Helios, with the guide of the sun. Because dolphins really remind us of the importance of play. Maybe like no other teacher on earth can or does. And play is one of the secret recipes into Leo life, light, and language. The golden crown and scepter. How do you wear and hold this? The corona, oh, shit, what did they do to that word? Right? Like, watch the sunset, and sometimes you get those beautiful rays making a crown on the horizon or the sunrise, which reminds you it's the way that earth, right, the ground and the sun play. Sometimes we'll get that amazing halo around the sun and you really get to see the circumpunct. What's the point? All right, anyway, confidence is not cockiness, as we have said before. Remember that, realign to that, reclaim that truth. Pride is not arrogance. Self-love is not vanity. It is a necessity if you truly want to live in the Leo light. So, which I guess tells me to put this on the screen. Tomorrow, the 25th, is a day out of time per the Mayan calendar. I wonder if anyone knows the astronomical basis. So no, it's not. It's the day out of time in the dream spell calendar, which was created by Jose Arguelles in very modern times. And you know what? We all have the right to create. And it's a very cool system in which I am a yellow star walker or something. I don't know. I know myself as for or for Manik, for deer, because that's language from the actual calendars that we've come to call Mayan. We actually don't even know who those people were called themselves. And many of the Mesoamerican traditions, and even up here into the southwest of the place we currently call United States, had these sacred 260-day counts of 13 and 20, upon which, and along with the Hob, the annual count, Jose Arguelles based his dream spell calendar. Look, we all have the right to create. I would even indeed say it's our responsibility, and that calendar has some cool sources. But importantly, I would like to very much differentiate it from Mayan calendar. And now I might be in the inconjunct space of Capricorn and Leo, by the way, and certainly not just holding the light, because you can hear my bias there. But in the old calendar systems, there was no day out of time, and it was certainly not some Gregorian date like July 25th at all. So I just want to leave that there. There is a wonderful documentary movie called The Art of Life that embodies so much of this transmission, Winter says, that might get us back on track. And Neo's asking about the 13 and the 20. Let's talk about that another time in space. But I really appreciate that encouragement. And maybe I'll get a guest teacher on who can speak much more about not only the beautiful rhythms of Mesoamerican calendrics, but also how we embody this and what it says about who we are and what we came to do. Okay. And by the way, in that tradition, there are great fire ceremonies, including perhaps the most great every 52 years. But if the dream spell calendar is a beautiful spell for your dreams, please do it. If it helps you be you, go for it all the way. All right, so Leo, not the longest, but the hottest days. And lately around here, it's become fire season. Not like it was years before. I remember when a bunch of people scoffed at somebody who was wearing a crown when he was like, oh, we need to have some incentives to clear some brushes out of the neighborhood and stuff. Because the media tells everybody to hate this orange-headed dude who was born with a Leo Mars on the rise. But it really worked. And it made a ton of sense. And so, I would just say that we are not sovereign at all if we believe so much in this versus that. If I believe, for example, that an ancient calendar system is better than a modification and reinvention of it, because I'm interested in how it was sourced in a place in kind of cultural context, for example. Am I not just falling prey to division consciousness and polarity in the sun, which hopefully can come to light for us in this Leo space? Will help us get out of all of that. I have astrologer friends like Maurice Fernandez, for example, is a great evolutionary astrologer. For him, the sun is the ruler of the fifth. Leo is the fifth sign. The sun rules Leo, and therefore the sun is the natural ruler of the fifth house. And I might debate with him about why would the sun want night? Why would the sun want to be beneath the ground? That's not daylight at all. What about the tradition that the sun rejoices at the ninth? For me, I gravitate more towards that. But for Maurice and for many others, like his first teacher, who was Jeffrey Wolf Green, maybe I shouldn't say first. That would be for Maurice to say. The sun is Leo. This Leo is the fifth. The sun is the fifth. Fifth is children. The sun is about children and parents. That's how Maurice works with it. And look, I was born with the sun in the first degree of tropical Scorpio. So as the sun has just moved into Leo and it's opposite that Aquarius Pluto, it's shining light on the truth that I'm going through a great Pluto square natal sun transit. And the greatest evolution in my life that's coming forth at this time is that Anna has given birth to our baby girl. I'm learning how to be a dad of a baby and all these things, right? Now, in the tradition, we might say, well, that's more reflected in the truth that I'm in the first house annual profection. I was born with Gemini on the rise. The steersman of my chart, Mercury, resides in the fifth. And I could go on and on like this. I might look at Saturn opposite my natal Venus by transit. And Venus is the lady of the fifth. And who knows, right? There's so many ways to pet the cosmic cat. And as long as it purrs, right? And so systems like this idea of a day out of time, and one of the calendrical traditions in Kemet, the place that we now call Egypt, there were 5, perhaps. So whatever pets your cat and helps it purr. And what will you create out of all that you know? Like, I'm really inclined to create my own calendrical system based upon a lot of the ancient ways and bringing them together. And I think Arwelis did a beautiful job of that. I feel like I spoke the wrong first name for him before too. But anyway, let's finish through this. So fire season, there's an asterisk there, not the longest, but the hottest days. That, of course, is a Northern Hemisphere thing, and it might be different in London versus Honolulu, So think globally, but act locally. What I can say about Leo, it is the 30 degrees of the sun's path that are northwest of the heart of Earth where we all connect. Okay. The arrogant drama queen. Yes, I am. Is that what Leo is? And again, no. I mean, that's a shadow expression that will help us find the light. We don't have shadow if there is not the sun, the moon at night, sometimes even Venus. Or a light bulb. That was somebody's radiant invention. But I can be an arrogant drama queen sometimes. I just feel like we need to be careful with perpetuating. There's that word I was looking for before. The idea that this sign is that, and this sign is that, and this sign is that, and not honor also the great, beautiful, divine, and open kind of opportunity for each of these signs themselves to evolve and be their highest self. And again, for me, there's a lot to the remembrance that no, it's not that Leo needs the stage and needs the spotlight. The true Leo is the spotlight. And so the stage needs her. Roar, roar. All right, the fifth sign. So speaking about that a little bit, but we're going to get now into this idea of trine. Before, I just want to offer this mantra, this Leo mantra, and I'd encourage you to realign this in the way that best fits your flow, which is I will uncage my creativity, for living life as art is not only my right, it is my responsibility. All right, there is a jam like that for each of the planets in each of the signs at the golden year of Earth astrology, along with hundreds of hours of amazing geometry, harmony, astronomy, astrology teachings that you can connect with at GeminiBrett.com. Click on the courses page and you can access the golden year. If you are good at tuning in with pre-recorded classes, you will find many magical deep dives waiting for you there. It's an amazing deal if you love to learn the sacred science. If you like the way that I presented, or at least a little bit, there's a lot for you there. So again, GeminiBrett.com, click the courses page, GeminiBrett.com/donate if you want to just help me buy a new tin of tea from my dear friend Kirsten at Jade Frog Tea. I really encourage you to check him out. He's been going through some tricky times, and help him stoke his flame by supporting his work. And if you do, you will be aligning with some of the greatest teas that ever were. So Jade Frog Tea, and GeminiBrett.com/donate if you want to help me out in that way. GeminiBrett.com. There's a sessions page there. You can book a reading with me. That would really help. Learn about constellations. Click on the community tab at my website. All right, we're going to do one more little play here. This is something that I created for like the Astro Dice play that we were speaking about last time, where I show the 12 maps. You can see the words here on the outer ring that I like as kind of one word reminders of the essence of the places, or these expressions that we now call houses in astrology. Well, that's an interesting thing, Linda, that just found out last night that PayPal doesn't cover Turkey, as I just tried to buy some Norwalk sale lectures. I'm appreciating that reminder to offer. I know for constellations, by the way, there's different ways you can play with all the courses that I offer, but it's not true the way that I'm currently set up, or have been set up, to receive donations or session booking. Sometimes I'll have somebody email me and say, I don't use PayPal ever. How else can I pay you? And we sort something out. It's made things convenient. I tried to completely resist when they started joining the censorship shit show of some years ago. But I'm appreciating that I need an alternative way on my site to both receive donations for those who are in a space and feel to give, and also to have sessions booked. So thank you so much for that, Linda. And thanks for Winter for asking, does Venmo work? I mean, they're owned by PayPal now anyway. Ownership. There's no ownership. All right. Anyway, so the star, that's the first. You are the star of your show, friends. The second house is about your needs. The third, the tools that you will build to express those so that you can come into safety, security, and be rooted again. And then you will be reborn into your passion. The fifth, remembrance of you as the divine child. And we want to speak about that today, but I think we have enough. And again, as I said earlier, we're heading off to go play at the beach. And I hope everybody will, from this, remember to play today. Remember to create. So we're actually last week on Storytelling Hour, we rolled the dice and we got into this grand fire trine that connects Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And here in the so-called natural zodiac, it would be 159. And with the sun exalted in Aries, with the sun as the natural ruler of the fifth house in the eyes of modern astrology, with the sun rejoicing in the ninth house in the eyes of traditional astrology, which had nothing to do with Sagittarius, by the way, but if we put it in the Aries rising map, it seems to be the only one modern astrology teaches. We get this grand fire trine speaking for the 159. I just want to turn the wheel. What about places on Earth where Taurus is rising? Well, then the 159 connects the Earth signs, right? Now, this isn't a whole sign framework, but the Taurus map would have the 159 connecting Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The Gemini rising map, that's the one I was born to, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and go into the ocean for me. That sounds great. And Neo, who says, happy beaching. It's warm in the South Bay today. Right on. Neo the Wise, I would love to remember who you are because I thought you lived in Sedona, Arizona. Let's turn it to Leo rising here, where then we find Leo has a fifth of Sagittarius, and the fifth of Sagittarius is Aries, and the fifth of Aries is Leo. Right, regardless of the ascending sign, we could go to Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, right? I want you to be able to do this like in your mind's eye. Okay, let me we'll end with this slide and let me put this away and maybe we'll just roll the dice. Buttons. Let's just roll this and let's say the first is Cancer. Okay, then 159 is Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Aries, so Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Virgo, so Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. Aries again, it's persistent, It's Pisces, so Pisces rising in that design has Cancer on the 5th and Scorpio on the 9th. Capricorn rising, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. Scorpio rising, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. Scorpio again, Pisces again. Just all tell me to go to the ocean, to go pray, Virgo rising, Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. And Aries, okay, so let's be back in that space. And so it's a weird way of blending modern and traditional systems to suggest that the sun is somehow associated with the 159 Grand Trine. Right? Again, the strange math would be this, that the sun rejoices in the 9th. So there's your 9, the house of God, traditionally the house of the journey and the pilgrimage and the like. That the sun is, of course, the domicile lord, the landlord of the sign called Leo. And in the natural zodiac design, well, Leo is the 5th. And so the sun, and this is true, as we know, to modern astrology and their alphabet, associates the sun as the natural ruler of the 5th house, right? And then if the sun exalts in Aries, and Aries has something to do with the 1st, and that's true, at least from the center of Earth, because the Pisces-Aries cusp is due east of the center of the Earth where we all connect. Then somehow the sun and light and life speaks for 159, right? 5, the child, really the creations and passion and romance and risk, the joy of Venus, right? And children are the creations of our passionate romantic risks. Do you know where to find your grandchild in your chart? The 5th of the 5th. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Because they're the child of your child. Yes? Well, does your grandchild give birth to you? That's an interesting thing to consider in some kind of reincarnational family trip. I think it's more like the ninth, which is not only grandchildren at all, but it is spirit, spirituality, learning, journeying. That gives birth to you. That helps you be reborn. I want to open another one of the golden year classes and see if I can find. Right, let's do this. A Brett inside a Brett inside a Brett inside a Brett. All right, hopefully this is on your screen. So these were me looking at different astrology teachers, including my friend Gary Caton, who in his first book on the great essence and magic of Mercury, called the Mercury Elemental Year, speaks about the 159 Grand Trine as identity. Brian Clark, in a class that he offered on the houses, which I downloaded at Astrology University, spoke about the 159 trine as the triangle of life. Braha, and I'm trying to remember which of the Vedic astrology texts this was. Anyway, spoke about the 159 as the triangle of Dharma, whereas the 2, 6, 10 would be that of Artha. What Caton calls 2, 6, 10 mastery. Clark's substance. I like substance for this. The 3, 7, 11 relationship. Relationship, comma. That the 4, 8, 10 dynasty, says Gary Caton. Ending, says Clark, right? 8 being death and rebirth and the like. Moksha, says Braha. But to rewind to this 159, this idea of like Dharma, well, what is that? Life, identity, right? And I mostly want to leave this because it's time for us to head to the beach is like a question for you or a invitation for you. The invitation is to explore the flow, not only of like fire signs, which we know connect through a grand trine. And it's helpful in the maps to know that the 159, for example, are connected in grand trine too. We just heard from some authors ideas of what that 159 grand trine is versus the 2, 6, 10 or the 3, 7, 11 or the 4, 8, 12. What is the 159? Explore this through the eyes of the first. Explore it then through the eyes of the fifth. Explore it then through the eyes of the ninth. Might you find in that play that the many poems that you create to express that beautiful essence do in fact shine solar light? Maybe they don't. Report back, friends. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Let's just get technical on the way out because Jennifer asked this very important question. What if you have more than one child? There's very different ways to do that. So the idea is the fifth represents the child. Look, so I'm Gemini rising. So Libra is my fifth, and therefore Venus, the lady of Libra, will represent in my chart my daughter Maya. There's another kid in this house who I've been connected to for many, many, many years, but he has a father that is not me. So Koa, Anna's son, is found in my 11th house because the 11th is the fifth of the 7th, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So my partner, 7th child, is in my 11th. I'm Gemini rising. The 11th is Aries. So Mars in my chart represents Koa. If you have more than one child, the fifth and the ruler of the fifth, though I don't love that word, represents all of your kids and also represents creativity, passion, romance, and all of these other things too. If you're just asking about one child and your relationship to the child, I will personally, in my work, usually look at the representative or the guide or the goddess of the first. Let's say you're born Taurus rising, so Venus, and its relationship to the guide of the fifth. So when Taurus rises, the fifth is Virgo. So I will look at Venus as representing you, Taurus rising, and Mercury representing your children, Virgo on the fifth. And by the way, if different house systems have a different sign than Virgo on the cusp, I might look at that as well. Okay. So if you're talking to me about your eldest child versus your youngest specifically, I still probably go there. But if you're talking about, look, my two kids are just fighting and they're, one's drinking the Coke and one's drinking the Pepsi, and it's so hard at this time of elections and the like. Then what do we do? How do I find my son versus my daughter, whatever? So Winter puts here, what about triplicity? So triplicity lords would be one of the ways, especially in the medieval approach, that this would be done. So in that example of Virgo, or let me use mine. So we have 3 kids. Well, with Libra on the 5th, and because I was born at night, I would look first at Mercury and then at Saturn and then at Jupiter. All right. And I'm getting like too deep into the thread here. Another system, a more modern system, would be through derived houses. So that your eldest is the 5th. Your second child is the sibling of your eldest. And the sibling is the 3rd. And the 3rd of the 5th is the 7th. So the weird thing is that would place your second child in like the kind of relationship realm, and it's like their parent, their father or mother, whatever, not you, but the other, would be like your second child. Like things get weird. So anyway, I really appreciate the question. At some point, we'll just do like I promise to answer your question if you promise to question my answers storytelling hour. But I really appreciate questions like that come in. And I appreciate so much of the play here, of your comments, your participations. It's so wonderful to see amazing beings coming to spend some time here with me. We need to make it in such a way where we can all have our mics on and share. Oh, wait, we do. That's at Constellations in the community discussion group. So come join us there, geminibrett.com/constellations. It really supports the work. And for a ridiculously low amount, though I know every dollar counts, you will get so much astrology and most importantly, the opportunity to connect with birds of a feather. Let's all fly. So Real Not Brody here says, funny, my second child is much like my partner. I often do find that to be people's truth when I share that in readings, in searching for first child versus the second, third, fourth, whatever it may be. All right, y'all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Maybe I'll see you at the beach.